This episode is brought to you by the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. There are legends around here.
Who died in my fucking King of the Zombies?
Even if only in their own minds. Forgotten, but not yet dead.
I want to play a game.
Some have tried to stop them, but they keep coming back.
Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Coming to entertain you. They are the Crystal Lake Soldiers.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Crystal Lake Soldiers podcast. My name is Isaiah, and I'm joined tonight by CeCe from the Scream Queens. We are talking Halloween H20 and continuing our series on the Halloween Retrospective series leading up to the release of Halloween Kills coming up here on October 15th. How are you doing, CeCe?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Getting excited for Halloween Horror Nights this coming up week here.
I know. Holy crap.
I can't believe how long this has been planned and finally getting to the point of almost being there.
I know. It's wild. I was like just telling Teddy, I was like, Kyle's going to be here on Tuesday already. Mm-hmm. And then you guys will be here Wednesday. Wow.
It's going to be nuts. It's for one, I love visiting Orlando. Obviously for the parks and stuff like that. So it's going to be nuts seeing everybody and then getting to experience Halloween Horror Nights for the first time. Because I've been wanting to go since I was a kid, you know. So yeah. It's guys are very exciting.
Guys are in for a treat. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with the Texas Chainsaw House. I'm very much looking forward to that. I mean, actually, I'm looking forward to all the houses. If I'm being honest. I mean, I'm looking forward to everything, that and the food, and then yeah, it's going to be a great few days, that's for sure.
It's going to be awesome. I'm ready.
So am I. So what have you guys been up to lately with your guys' show and whatnot?
So we've been covering a lot of HHN content, mostly because of this. It's the season, you know. So we did like a hype episode before we did the event, and then we just put up an episode. So we're recording today, which is the 8th, which is Wednesday. Our episode came out today. That was about like our first impressions of the houses and things we saw. Mm-hmm. Spoiler free. So just kind of like our first initial thoughts without going deep into what you can actually see in the houses and things like that. So A lot of HHN content right now.
I can imagine, especially with it being the season and whatnot. So
yeah.
And everybody's just so fucking hyped for getting back to
I know, it's
HHN.
great.
I mean, it's nuts. I mean, just with everything that's gone on over the last year and everything, it's like it's just so relieving to know there's some normalcy, you know, back.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, it's just getting to spooky season, anyways. I mean, we're in September now, and oh my God, Halloween's right around the corner. It's like everything's moving super fast, but really slow at the same time. Especially just getting to, you know, the trip. I mean, my fucking work life is just like so slow right now because I'm like, I just want to be down in Orlando. I want to have fun. I need a fucking break. And so like work is like just fucking nonstop long. It's just feels like it's never going to get here, even though it's only a short few days away.
Yeah, it's crazy, like, thinking about that, because, yeah, I get what you mean, because, like, the days just seem so long when you're at work, but it's just, like, but the time overall seems to be going pretty quickly, like, to the day that you're going to be here and things like that.
Yeah, so. It's nuts, because I've got so much shit I got to get done before even coming down there, and I know I'm going to be scrambling at the last minute to finish stuff.
That's me too, though. I pack like the day before I'm gonna leave. It's wild.
Yeah, I'll have to pack. I'll probably end up packing Monday, so the day this gets released. So
okay.
Yeah, I'll end up spending that Monday night packing because then I'll be heading to the girlfriend's house on Tuesday and staying there, and she's taking me to the airport on Wednesday morning, nice and early. So
that's smart.
Yeah, then I don't have to pay for an Uber or
exactly. Or have to pay the parking at the airport, which is awful.
My God, it's terrible. It's really fucking terrible.
Yeah. So, smart idea.
So, what are you most looking forward to with Halloween coming up?
So I actually haven't thought that far out yet, because I'm just so involved with HHN right now.
Right.
So I mean, this event lasts through Halloween night. Actually, is the last night that it's going on. I'm actually kind of hoping to go that night if I can get the night off.
Okay.
That would be really awesome. If not, what I always kind of do is if I'm at home, always watch some certain movies, like some version of Halloween. I'll put on some version of Halloween, whether it be the original. One year we watched Rob Zombie's first film. So it's just like any Halloween movie. Also, Trick or Treat is another good one we like to watch.
Definitely.
So doing that and just like eating snacks and hanging out, candy, stuff like that, usually is what we do if we're not out. But hoping to go to HHN, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Are there any other movies that you kind of gravitate towards on Halloween or around Halloween?
Those are two of the big ones. I mean, you know me, all of us, we just watch horror movies all year round.
Right.
Definitely those are some that I always revisit. I might actually start adding some things this year. What I used to do actually, and I don't know if I'm going to do it this year or not, just because I might be busy. I used to do 31 days of October. I would watch a horror movie that I've never seen before.
Okay.
I've done it for a couple of years. I think last year I kind of fell off a little, but like 2 years ago I stuck to it and I did it. So I might try to do something like that again. Maybe do like half the month.
Okay.
So that's another little challenge I like to do for myself. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I generally try to do the same thing. Obviously this year's probably gonna be a little harder just because being so busy. But I mean, with the release of like the Chucky series and some of these other things, like I Know What You Did Last Summer, I'm going to try to incorporate that to maybe watch an episode a day, as well as movies and stuff like that. Because like some of the main things I do watch during the October season for sure are Trick or Treat. That's definitely one. Terrifier's been another one over the last few years, so that's another one I'll definitely rewatch.
I'll probably have to this year as well because I'm pretty sure I'm covering it with Kyle on their show, and I'm always down to watch that movie. You know me, so
right. Yeah, I mean that's just an instant classic now. So, and then obviously some of the Halloween movies, and then obviously Halloween Kills is coming out, so I'll end up watching that 3 times in October, guaranteed. So, my October's pretty packed and. Some of it I'll be sharing with my girlfriend. Some of it I won't, just because some of it gets a little extreme, like Terrifier, and I don't feel like scaring her off that quickly yet.
Yeah.
So
I get that one for sure.
Right. Maybe someday,
Halloween would be good. Trick or Treat. Yeah.
Yep, because we actually started the Halloween series, so I've gotten her to watch the first Halloween. She didn't actually really care for that one because she thought it was slow, which is fine. It's not for everybody.
Right.
But then she really loved 2018, which I'm grateful for because she thought that was so much better. Just because it kept up the pace and had more action to it and whatnot, which I can totally understand, especially with her not having really much of a background with horror. Maybe some of the slower stuff just isn't kind of her cup of tea, which is totally fine. But the fact that she loved 2018 really like made me happy because I fucking love 2018 so much.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. Like that's why I'm so excited for Kills because 2018 did so well, and I think Kills might even be better. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it, especially as like more reviews and stuff are starting to come out now because it premiered at the Venice Film Festival or whatever it is, and it's been all pretty much positive so far. So I'm super stoked for that.
That's great.
And hopefully that keeps up because it's kind of building the hype right now, and they said there's a lot of surprising stuff and a lot of different things that they did in the movie that's different for the franchise. So it's exciting. It doesn't necessarily make me nervous, but it makes me more anticipating, what they're going to do and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm super pumped for that. But that's coming up, and like I've said in previous episodes, my plan is to review Halloween Kills once that comes out and release that on that Monday after it gets released. So be on the lookout for that. But until then, we're going to continue talking about the Halloween franchise. We've covered 1 through 6 now, so we've talked about the different continuities and whatnot in previous episodes, and we're going to continue talking about that because now we are kind of getting almost a soft reboot with Halloween H20, which will continue into Halloween Resurrection before it's completely rebooted and we get the Rob Zombie remake. So let's go ahead and take a look at 1998's Halloween H20.
All right, nothing to fear. The coast is clear.
Nothing's missing.
They did a real number on your office.
My office?
Oh, there's crap everywhere.
Got mail.
Birthday card.
It's only 2 months late. I'm impressed.
Cash is good. I'm gonna need it when I go to Yosemite.
You're not going?
No, I'm going to Yosemite.
No, you're not.
Look, I know today is the day, but I think...
Oh, really? What day is that, John?
Halloween.
Oh, I hadn't noticed.
Mom, we're through with all that.
Ronnie, the phones are out.
There's a strange car parked down at the gate, but I can't seem to find any signs of trespassing.
What are you doing? Hey.
I'm just gonna go find John.
Go to the dogs. We're gonna call the cops.
Here, here's the door. Lock it.
All right, so Halloween H20 was released on August 5th, 1998. It was directed by Steve Miner, who, if you're not aware, Steve Miner directed Friday the 13th, Part 2 and 3. So he directed kind of some of the better additions to the Friday the 13th franchise. So hiring him to direct this was a smart decision. They originally were trying to get Carpenter on board to kind of reunite him with Jamie Lee Curtis and, you know, the whole 20th anniversary thing with Halloween H20. That didn't end up panning out. He didn't end up wanting to do it. So they got Steve Miner instead, which is a very smart and wise choice, just with kind of his background with horror and whatnot. This says, you know, obviously we've got Jamie Lee Curtis back as Laurie Strode, Carrie Tate. In this movie, we've got the introduction of Josh Hartnett in his first movie that he filmed, with him playing Curtis's son in this. We've got LL Cool J, we got Michelle Williams, and we've got Jodie Lynn O'Keefe. So we've got a pretty solid cast, you know, for this movie. Budget-wise, this had a higher budget than a lot of the Halloween movies. It came in at about $17 million for the budget. It grossed a little over $55 million, so it didn't do too bad at the box office when it was released. This had a lot of hype, obviously, you know, with going in with the 20-year anniversary and everything. And I remember as a kid seeing it on TV, like on talk shows and different things like that, just the whole hype for, you know, the release of Halloween H20. And funny enough, because this was released on August 5th, this was the first Halloween movie I got to see in the theater because my cousin took me for my birthday.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was still a little too young to get myself into the movie. But yeah, my cousin ended up taking me, and that was the first Halloween movie I got to see in the theater. So that was a little nostalgia thing for me. But what was kind of your first interaction with this movie?
So mine's a little weird because I remember this movie and very vaguely as a kid. I remember watching it at like my childhood best friend's house, I believe. And it was like back when we just like I don't even remember how young we were. We were pretty young, I feel like. I'd have to actually do math to determine that, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we like rented it or something because we wanted to watch a scary movie. And like I said, it's like one of those memories in my brain that I just remember like a certain scene from the movie or like a character, and that was LL Cool J.
Yep.
Being the security guard. So like that's all I remember is like him in the little security office thing. But from there, that's all I really remembered. And then just moving forward, we actually covered it on our show because we did a rankings episode last year actually for all the Halloween movies. So that was actually my first full time as a cognizant adult watching this film. So it wasn't too long ago, and it really stuck with me because of the fact that it's very 90s.
Yep.
And you know me, Scream is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes.
So, so yeah, this had that same vibe, and I'm sure we'll talk about why later. But yeah, so I think just having watched it very recently for the first time in full was really great because I got to kind of see it, as an adult and things like that. So
right. No, definitely. And actually, let's kind of talk about that kind of 90s influence on this movie here really quick. Because it's definitely something I want to kind of touch on. Because, with the kind of the backstory with this movie and kind of the writing process, Kevin Williamson definitely touched, the script originally because he was kind of did a draft of it and whatnot. And it's definitely got that 90s vibe to it. And it definitely feels a lot like a Scream movie because Scream was the big 90s horror movie. So everything was kind of emulating it. After that was released in 96. So it's no surprise that it definitely had an influence on how H20 kind of was produced and kind of felt and just kind of everything with it. Because I remember with some of the original draft for H20, they were going to go with a copycat killer. Very much kind of like Scream, where you didn't know who the killer was kind of thing. And obviously you're still going to have Michael Myers in there and everything. It was kind of a weird concept, and I don't think it would have worked to its benefit, I think the story that we got, ultimately, after it was rewritten a few different times, I think was probably the best of what we could have got. And I think it worked well with what we got, because honestly, after part 6, everything was kind of a muddled mess with a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of plot holes and stuff like that. So really their only kind of course of action was to kind of do a soft reboot. And so they obviously decided to omit 4 through 6 and just do almost a direct sequel to part 2 and just continue the Laurie Strode story. So it definitely had its story of how it came to be and whatnot, and just the different drafts it had. I mean, and with this movie, I feel it's a fairly decent movie. I wouldn't say it's high up on my list for Halloween movies, but I feel it's kind of in the middle for me. And a lot of that is just because I like Scream a lot. But at the same time, making Halloween feel like Scream, I think was just took me back a little bit. Cause I remember seeing it for the first time in the theater and just thinking, this really just feels like Scream just with Michael Myers,
Right.
And, it didn't really feel like a Halloween movie to me. And I think a lot of that was taking it from the whole Midwest kind of setting and putting it in California. Everything's beautiful, bright and sunny. And it didn't feel like it was fall. Didn't feel like it was Halloween time. I mean, I think a lot of that just kind of worked against it with kind of the whole feel of the movie, ultimately. Because like that opening scene felt like a Halloween movie,
Right. I was going to say that. Yeah, that part definitely did. But I can see where, besides that, it really doesn't as much.
Yeah. So, Thoughts on the mask? Because I know the mask is a very, very touchy subject, especially because there was 3 different physical masks used, and then obviously the 4th digital mask in the one scene. So, what are your thoughts?
I'm actually more of a fan of the masks throughout the franchise that are a bit more messed with, muddled, dirty. I don't really care for the straight like white with it looks almost like painted on eyebrows. Well, obviously they are, but I mean, I don't really, and I get in the original it is that way, and it's okay, it works in the original, but for the rest of them, I honestly truly like the ones that are a bit more damaged and dirty. So this is not really my favorite.
Right.
Especially because, I mean, I know unfortunately they had to do the whole CGI thing, but I just, it's not a favorite of mine, I guess.
Well, what's funny is they didn't have to do the CGI thing because,
oh really?
So kind of the thing was when they started out, like a good majority of the movie has that kind of blank, featureless mask.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was the original mask that director Steve Miner wanted, was because he wanted kind of a featureless mask that just kind of just made him have a blank face. Well, the Weinsteins didn't like that, and they demanded that they get a new fucking mask after they had already, I think they completed like 40% of the movie at this point.
Oh.
And they're like, nope, you got to go back and change the mask. So, one thing that they did is they, and this original mask, this featureless mask, was made by K&B Effects, so Greg Nicotero and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did instead is they went back to Halloween 6 and got the Halloween 6 mask. One of the masks used on that movie, just as kind of to see how it would work versus that or the featureless mask that Steve Miner wanted. And so that opening shot, the very first shot we see in the movie, is actually the Halloween 6 mask. So, So what they did is they shot it with both masks just to see which one looked better, and obviously the Halloween 6 mask won out there. And so they went with that for a little bit, but then they only ended up using that mask in the first scene. And then they had this other mask that was kind of designed that we see in a lot of the other shots that had a little bit more features and whatnot. But they ended up doing I think they said like $1.5 million in reshoots. But for whatever reason, that fucking kitchen scene where they used that stupid CGI mask, they didn't do a reshoot for that. And so they just digitally imposed that on there, and it looks fucking atrocious. And it's like the worst computer fucking generated thing they could have ever done. And it just takes you out of the movie. It would have been one thing if it was just the featureless mask. Just fucking go with it at that point, because that shit that they pulled was fucking ugly and just sinful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was horrible.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. So that's kind of the history. So yeah, they used 3 different masks and then the 4th digital mask. So 4 masks total in this fucking movie, and it's ridiculous, all the changing that they kept doing with the mask.
Yeah, that's probably what really threw me off that way, is because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of happened, and like this for this movie, this is like the shortest Halloween movie too. It's like 86 minutes long.
Yeah, it really is short.
Because it doesn't feel long at all, number one. And then when you see the runtime, you're like, holy shit, this really is not a long movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of wild. But at the same time, they at least keep the pace going. Because, some of the movies, things can get drawn out and stuff. But this one at least keeps the pace going, which is kind of nice,
Mm-hmm.
Because it could have dragged out like some of the movies could have.
Yeah.
Now, one of the cool things that I liked is because they do a lot of like referencing, the previous movies and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And like some other horror movies too, because, well, number one, you got Jamie Lee Curtis's mother in the movie as well.
Yes.
And she plays Norma, who's her secretary at the school. And what's cool is Norma actually is driving the same car that they used in Psycho. which is obviously the movie that she was famous for. And it has the same license plate used on the car in Psycho 2. So I kind of like that little nod with Psycho, but also, the mother-daughter dynamic, because Norma has a line in there, if I could offer you some motherly advice, or however she put it, basically. And so,
yeah.
And it was kind of cool that, she got to play in that role with Jamie Lee and whatnot, because that was kind of one of the last roles I think she did.
Probably,
sure one of the last ones she did with Jamie Lee, because she was in like 3 different movies with Jamie Lee before, one of them being The Fog from 1980, which was directed by John Carpenter, so they got to star together in that. But it's just kind of cool with kind of some of the nods with other movies, and then it's like the movie itself is I think is really well done. I just wish it would have felt more like a Halloween movie,
Yeah, I understand that for sure. Like you said, it's that beginning scene really kind of set us up for like the Halloween feel, but then it kind of just went, because we went to, well, I know we'll go into it, but like the boarding school and things like that, and then it just kind of made it like more, I guess, more character based than almost atmosphere in a way,
right?
So yeah, but yeah, I know we need more of that atmosphere, I feel like, for sure.
Yep. I do like how with the beginning of this movie we bring back a character from the previous movies too. So we obviously get Nurse Marion back, who was kind of helping Dr. Loomis in Halloween 1 and 2. So I like that nod towards the original 2 movies and bringing her character back, which obviously we get to see her character again in Halloween Kills, which is coming up here, which I'm super excited for. So I kind of like how they explained that, Loomis's absence, because obviously at this point Donald Pleasance had passed away, because he had passed away in 94, I believe, or early 95 before the release of 6. And so they had kind of explained that she was taking care of him up until he passed away. And at least we get a little nod of his picture being in that opening scene, too, of the office after it was ransacked by Michael looking for the information on Laurie Strode. So it was very cool that they brought back her character. I would have felt it would have been really cool if they could have brought back maybe some of the other actors. Because I know with before Janet Leigh took on the role of Marion, they were actually in negotiations with P.J. Souls to take on that character, who played Linda in the original Halloween movie. But she never gave them a for sure answer if she was going to do it or not. So they ended up going with Janet Leigh instead, which would have been a nice callback, and getting to see her and Jamie Lee work together again would have been great, especially for the Halloween fans and whatnot. It would have just been a nice another little nod. To what came before. What are your kind of thoughts regarding the music in this movie?
So I enjoy it. Actually, something kind of fun that I wanted to mention too, when they actually show Janet Leigh's characters, that if you listen close, they are playing the Psycho score. When she goes back to her car, which I really liked that. Again, anything that's 90s, I gravitate toward.
Yeah.
So I definitely, even the music, I think I really enjoyed it. I feel like I'm kind of one of the people that is actually more on the side of liking this movie than most people are.
Okay.
I think the end is the only thing that really bugs me about this movie, but
sure,
we'll talk about that.
Sure.
But yeah, anything 90s you throw at me is great. So I enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, because my kind of stance with the movie is like the Halloween theme that they used in the opening credits. I really like that a lot because it was different.
Right.
Because it wasn't just the standard, just piano and synthesizer. I kind of liked what they did with the kind of orchestra built Halloween theme. The rest of the music in the movie kind of felt semi-forgettable. I think a lot of that was due to the fact that they used a lot of Marco Beltrami's music from Scream. So they kind of reused a bit of that instead of John Ottman's score, and which, I mean, John Ottman's score was kind of felt like it was okay, And so I understand the need to try to get something a little bit more beef behind it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
With regards to using some of Marco Beltrami's score, but it just kind of felt forgettable when it comes to Halloween scores, just because it didn't feel. That was another thing that kind of helped make it not quite feel like a Halloween movie, other than the few times that they brought in the Halloween theme, throughout the movie. And that's not necessarily saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. It just didn't make it feel like a Halloween movie. I know in the movie, too, that they were going to kind of connect 4, 5, and 6 and keep that canon, because the Jodie Lynn O'Keefe's character was supposed to do like an oral presentation in the classroom and talk about the Halloween murders. That included that and like the disappearance of Jamie Lloyd and everything. And that was supposed to cause Laurie to get, ill and then have to run off to the bathroom and whatnot. I almost kind of wish they would have kept it in there just to kind of tie everything together and keep everything as it, like this actually all happened.
Yeah.
I understand why they decided not to, just because then, what do you do? How do you build upon that? And also give reasoning for why Laurie, faked her death and left her daughter and, all this other stuff. So it makes sense, because it kind of put the writer in kind of between a rock and a hard place. Like, okay, well, we could do this, but it's going to make it really hard to explain everything.
Yeah, I get that.
So to its benefit, they kept things more simple and just said that, this is just going off of after what happened in Halloween 2. So it makes sense. What's your thoughts on LL Cool J's character of Ronnie in this movie?
I love him. I love him in pretty much everything. Like, he's been one of my favorite like musicians for a while. I grew up on him. I think it's hilarious that he writes, like smut and stuff, and like his girlfriend's like judging him on the phone and things like that. He's very random, because he's got that side of him, but then he's also like, I don't know, he's kind of like the cool guy, because he'll let them go off property if they beg him enough and things like that. So
yeah,
but then he obviously is always worried about covering his ass too, because Laurie is just a hard ass in this one, and obviously after dealing with what she dealt with. But yeah, I think he's great. He's hilarious, so I love him.
I love the line, Ronnie, don't you get your ass fired.
I know, right?
Oh my god, just that whole kind of conversation between him and his girlfriend is just hilarious. And I do like that, the comedy relief in this movie. I thought the comedy spots were very well placed in it, which you can't say for a lot of movies, but this one I felt like it had the right amount of comedy. And that's kind of more to the credit of like Scream too, because Scream had a lot of the same kind of comedy elements to it. And
I agree.
And I think that they did it well enough that it kind of rubbed off on this, and so it just worked,
Yeah.
And I don't think it felt forced. I thought it was, it helped make it just a fun movie overall,
Agreed.
Because it felt more like a popcorn flick versus just a straight horror trying to not get scared kind of movie. Because I never once thought that this movie was scary. I just thought it was a lot of fun to be able to just go to the theater and watch this and just watch some cool kills and just, the action was pretty good in this too.
Oh yeah, I agree with that too. I think this is not to be taken too seriously of a movie. I think it's definitely one of those movies that you're going to want to pop on when you have friends over, like you said, a popcorn movie or just something like to just have on like during like the Halloween season and things like that.
Yep.
I definitely agree with that.
Very, very much so. So the character dynamic between Jamie Lee's character and her son, because you've got her son who just turned 17 and whatnot, and she's being overprotective, and obviously it's Halloween, and so she doesn't want him going out and doesn't want to do anything on Halloween because obviously she's got all that pent-up trauma that she's still fighting with, 20 years later. And, it's obviously put a strain on her relationship with her son and whatnot. I mean, she's got the whole alcoholic thing going and trying to keep basically your fucking sanity together, just trying to get through this time of the year every year while being the headmistress of this fucking school in California, and just trying to live a semi-normal life. And then obviously, she like fucking explodes when the kids end up, leaving campus to go prepare for their little party, that because they're staying back and not going to the state park and everything. And so she loses her shit on the kids when she finds them out there after Ronnie let them out, and
Yeah, that whole scene's hilarious in my opinion. She just like goes off on her son. Pretty sure she doesn't she say like she yells fuck or something in the sentence.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, what the fuck? She just goes off. And it's great. I love it.
It really is pretty good. So you got, I think that they wrote that pretty well enough. Like out of between the two portrayals of Laurie after, the original movie and whatnot, I feel definitely, the 2018 one is stronger, but I feel like both have their merits with how they were written and whatnot. Because you've got this Laurie who's like trying to keep things together and obviously not doing a great job of it, whereas, Laurie in 2018 is kind of a basket case and just very like tinfoil hat kind of thing going on, So it's written differently, but I feel like both sides of the character with how they went in both stories kind of have their own merits with it. Which would you say that you prefer between the two different Lauries?
Ooh, that's hard. Actually, I kind of think I'm going to go 2018. I like her in this, but I can see where she's got a little bit of her flaws and doesn't have it as much together as you think she has it. And I feel like 2018 builds that a little bit more with her having her shit together. So I'm going to go with 2018 for sure.
I mean, plus we get Jamie Lee being a fucking badass in 2018.
I know.
As well.
I know.
And it's almost like she's the only sane person in there, even though she's acting very erratically,
Right? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and then she kind of like takes her daughter and her granddaughter under her wing like that, and it's just awesome. Like, see all three of them just badass at the end of the movie. So
yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So good. What did you think of the Chris Duran's performance as Michael Myers in this movie, though?
It wasn't bad. I think the mask is really the only thing that throws me off as much. But the performance of the actor themselves and the movements and things like that. There were obviously some parts in it that were a little almost comical, like the part where he kind of hangs off the bar at the end. So there's some comedic moments like that I don't think are supposed to be, but they just come off that way. But I still think the action and everything was really good in this. So I mean, I think the actor did a pretty good job.
Oh, for sure. With him, because I've talked in previous episodes in this series about how George P. Wilbur is my favorite Michael thus far in the series, before James Jude Courtney in the newest movie. With Chris Duran, his is okay, I think, in my opinion. It's not bad. It's not great either, because there are certain times when it almost seems like he's wooden and just doesn't have enough flowing kind of thing going on. I don't know. It just it doesn't seem to flow as naturally as, say, a Nick Castle or some of the other ones, where it just almost feels like he's trying to think about what he has to do almost as he's doing it. And I don't know if maybe that was nerves, but it just felt very wooden at times. Not all the time. There were a lot of the times where it felt more fluid and whatnot, but there were quite a few times where it felt kind of wooden, and so that kind of took me out a little bit. I'm like, I don't think Michael would be like this.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Actually, when I'm I know it's people aren't really for the movies themselves, but Tyler Mane is actually one of my favorite portrayals of Michael. I'm a huge fan of at least the first Rob Zombie film, as you know, and he's actually probably my favorite, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I thought he did a wonderful job, and like I love Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie. I didn't care for H2, but I thought like what he did with the first, his remake was great, and I love Tyler Mane as Michael, because he brought a real vicious and just like mean Michael, you know, and I fucking love that.
Me too.
And just completely brutal. So
scary, very scary. Like he's great. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very scary.
Yep.
But I did love that, you know, going back to H2O here, that Jamie Lee Curtis did come back for this movie. Because after Halloween 2, she had kind of decided, I don't want to do horror anymore, because I don't want to be like basically put into this box and typecast as only doing horror, you know, because she didn't think that her career would have taken off, which at the time she was correct, because she stopped doing the horror, and her career ended up taking off pretty good, you know. She landed some major roles after that. But she did decide to come back with H2O, and she considered this kind of a thank you to the fans and whatnot, because obviously without that early part of her career, she wouldn't have had a career. So she felt that she kind of owed it to the fans. But at the same time, it was kind of a money grab too, as she admitted later on after. Which, I mean, let's be honest. If you're able to make money, why not make money? So.
Oh yeah. Agreed.
And then, yeah, it's overall, I really like this, and like the action at the academy, excuse me. I thought was pretty good, because like the chase scenes were actually pretty well done with this movie.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed that a lot, because I like to see like the campus and just kind of the different like shots, you know, while they're chasing each other, or while he's chasing them, excuse me, and things like that. I thought were really cool. Like even like just the inside of the school and stuff like that. Like the scene where I forgot his character's name, but the friend, when he's going in the dumbbell, like that scene is wild. So like I just love seeing the different aspects of the school play into it also.
Very much so, and it was a beautiful location too, you know.
Yes.
And granted, it wasn't like the streets of Haddonfield or wherever else in Illinois, but it was a beautiful set. You know, I will give it that. And yeah, seeing the chase scenes through there, because even though a lot of it took place outside, it felt very confined too, because obviously you had the kind of gated, you know, academy and whatnot, so they were locked in there. So it felt very confined at the same time, as well as being kind of open, you know.
Yes.
Which was very cool. And then that final like scene in the dining hall was pretty well done too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I really like that a lot. So let's talk about that ending of the movie, because I know you had some thoughts on the ending.
Yeah. So, well, I guess some of it technically isn't in this movie, because you actually find out they do like a what's the word? Like a flashback. I believe it's like in Resurrection.
Yep. Kind
of explaining the end of this film a little bit more. So if you're taking that, you know, if you're taking that scene and adding it to the end of this, it didn't really impress me, because I didn't like the whole fact that it was just very. It didn't seem. I mean, again, we're talking about a world where Michael Myers exists, yes, but at the same time, it's like it didn't seem very realistic to me. That he swapped out with that guy, that he like did his the guy's throat, and then like threw the mask on him and the clothes on him, and kind of swapped places with him, and that just kind of was not very realistic to me.
Right.
I kind of was almost hoping that I don't even know how else I would have written it. So I can't even give it a better like ending in a way, but I just didn't really care for it. It didn't seem really realistic to me. That he would have been able to do that quickly and that. So
no, I agree.
Yeah, there's like elements of it that are kind of cool. The fact that it was not him, and it's this guy that's unfortunately like he can't speak, and he's, you know, dressed up like him, and he's just reaching out to her, and yeah, that's very sad. But like, so that part was kind of cool. It's just the way it was executed was very quick and not realistic to me.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And kind of the sad thing with that is they had that kind of swerve already planned before they, finished H2O, because that was already in the works, because they were already planning on making a sequel. And, that was worked into Jamie Lee's contract to make her, it was kind of one of the things that they put in the contract that she had to appear in the sequel if they were going to do H2O. And so they wrote that. And I don't know. It's just like, I felt it was kind of a cheap payoff, I guess, in a lot of sense with it. Because you had that amazing visual at the end of H2O of her decapitating who we thought was Michael Myers. It's like, holy shit, this is fucking over with.
Yeah. And you're like kind of excited in a way for her. Like,
yeah.
But
like very impactful, very like, because at first he's reaching out to her, she reaches out to him, and then she just takes that axe and just fucking swings for the fences, and his head just flies. And it's like, holy God, Michael Myers is fucking dead. There's no way they're bringing his ass back. But no, they had that piss poor explanation about him switching with the paramedic and him sneaking out while they cart him and put him in the fucking body bag and shit. It's just... Yeah. Oh, my God.
Maybe they could have figured it out a different way, maybe, but it was just too quick, and it was just too...
Right.
Weird. I don't know.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
But anyways, one last thing I kind of want to cover here is, what would you say is your favorite kill out of this movie?
That's a hard one. I'd have to really think about that. Actually, kind of that one, to be honest.
Okay.
Like Laurie, like just going ham, finally just fucking being so pissed off that she just knocks his head off. Like, oh my God, actually because that is an exciting scene. I'm not downplaying it.
Yeah. It's
just, again, that there's that whole, the story leading up to it factor. But like, no, I think she just had her moment. She was done. She was just ready. And I think that's probably actually one of my favorites, because I think it's kind of cool, because you don't see, I feel like people try to get too creative now in their kills that you don't see just like a standard like beheading anymore. I feel like not often, at least. So
right.
I think that was kind of cool, and the way the head just flew was great. So also the dumbbell kill, like I mentioned earlier, was really fun, because things like that scare me, because like if you watch Haunting of Hill House as well, just like any kind of scene where somebody goes in one of those things, I get so nervous for them. Like, or even in Scream and in the door of the garage, just like anything that's like claustrophobic like that, or like even elevator kills scare me too. Like anything like that where something's gonna close down on you or whatever. Oh my God, that stuff freaks me out. So.
No, there's some legitimate fear with those kind of things there. I totally understand that 100%. I think for me, my favorite kill probably out of this movie is the callback to Halloween 2, where, when Laurie's boyfriend accidentally shoots at LL Cool J, and then Michael comes out, stabs him in the back, and lifts him. The callback to Halloween 2. Oh my God, I love that kill.
Made me sad though.
I know.
But yeah, that was a good swerve. Like that was like, holy shit. Like, wow. Like you just killed the wrong person.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. But yes, I mean, overall, I mean, with this movie, even though it's got its flaws, it's got a lot of it about it to like as well, If you were to rate this movie, what would you rate it out of 5?
So as an overall look at it as a movie, I would probably give it a 3 out of 5 because of that factor. Because it's not I wouldn't say it's a great film, if that makes sense, like in the sense of like prestigious award type thing. But if you want to look at it in different ways, like the fun factor, or like something that I would say, for me, this one is very like nostalgia feeling because of the 90s and things like that. I feel like I would rate it higher if it was on a scale of like fun movies. But yeah, as a whole, I think a 3 out of 5 is pretty good.
Okay.
For it. So
yeah, I'm right there with you. I would definitely give this a 3 out of 5 as well. It's got elements of Halloween which help make it work. It's got elements of Scream that help make it work, but also at the same time, because it's got a lot of elements of Scream, it makes it not feel like a Halloween movie. And just kind of the location helps it make it not feel like a Halloween movie. It was great seeing Jamie Lee back in the role of Laurie Strode. It had quite a few good callbacks to previous Halloween movies. It had a lot going for it. It wasn't too terribly long. The pace kept up with it, but just kind of some of the things with like the mask and just kind of the feeling of it just kind of bring it down a little bit for me. But it's not terrible by any means. I still enjoy watching it. And it is definitely kind of in my rotation. At maybe once every couple years, I'll watch it. It's not a yearly watch for me because usually I stick with 1 through 6 when I'm watching, as well as 2018 now. But it's definitely one I revisit every now and then, unlike some of the other ones like Resurrection, which I'll be talking about that next week with Kyle. So from Trick or Treaters. So it's pretty good. It's not perfect. It's an okay movie. It's fun to watch though. It's a good popcorn movie. So definitely 3 out of 5 for me as well. So with that being said, I would also love to know what you guys think. Feel free to reach out through our social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at CLS Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, taking a look at Halloween H20 with CeCe from the Scream Queens. And I do want to thank you for joining me this week for this episode. This was a lot of fun.
Of course.
And
it was very much fun.
Yes, very, very much so. And I'm looking forward to talking on yours here, coming up here with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yes.
But that's to come. But next week we will be talking Halloween Resurrection with Kyle from the Trick or Treaters podcast. Very much looking forward to that because it's been a while since I watched that movie, and I've got some thoughts on the movie. So be on the lookout for that next week. Until then, I hope you guys are enjoying the fall season as we get closer to Halloween, and I will see you guys next week.
This episode of the Crystal Lake Soldiers podcast is brought to you by the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. Check us out at www.clspodcast.com or join in the conversation on social media. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at CLS Podcast. Until next time, stay safe, campers.